Up to this point, I have established the connection between culture and technology, and described the interconnections between the human cognition and emotion and language conceptualized as a cultural characteristic. All these artifacts have significance for the process of designing culturally responsive human-technology interaction. Both creator and user of technology artifacts have to deal with issues regarding perception, cognition, emotion, language, and ethics, either implicitly or explicitly. In a similar implicit or explicit way, similarities and differences in cultural characteristics across cultures impact the whole process of designing technology. I submit that it's far more useful to deal with these issues explicitly. So, to summarize the preceding discussion, culture provides the secondary interface between humans and nature. In contrast, the human structure itself serves as the primary interface. Material conditions in the environment has a circular causal relationship with culture. This relationship manifests as a byproduct of the interactions between humans and the environment. Moreover, this causal relationship between material conditions and culture in turn exerts great influence on human actions and cognition. This is not to say, however, that human mind and cognition are merely tabula rasa, shaped by the contingencies of nature and culture, nor that human agency does not affect nature or culture. Clearly, there is a circularity in the causal chain between nature, human mind, agency, and culture. Furthermore, it is clear that human agency, specifically through the use of technology, has produced various impacts on nature. Consider the various unintentional consequences of human technology on ecology, for example, the depletion of the biota, which already began in the post-Pleistocene epoch, the depletion of natural resources of energy, pollution, and planetary warming. Moreover, concepts connected to specific technology, for example, the concept of mutually assured destruction linked with nuclear weapons technology, in principle clearly carries the power to irreversibly alter the planetary ecosystems should it come to fruition. Technology is not just a neutral or instrumental means, it is also revealing that the world that influences the life of all who are involved with it. I have used much of my presentation on the importance of culture to human experience to establish the interdependency of culture and technology, so that I can now revert to the second question regarding the import of technology to human culture. Technology and technological change are vital to the evolution of culture. Cultures have developed stone tools, bows and arrows, digging sticks, plows, agriculture, ceramics, wheels, machinery, computers, telecommunications, bio and nanotechnologies. These inventions have assumed a material social existence and influence survival and reproduction. We cannot fully disengage technology from human culture without having to undo much of human history. We can say that contemporary human existence, especially in urban areas, is highly dependent on technology and technology-supported practice. In fact, we who lived in highly industrialized countries take for granted much of the technology we live with, and we only become acutely aware of our dependency primarily through breakdowns in the techno-environmental infrastructure. For example, through disruptions in the electrical power grid and in the distribution of subsistence materials. In contrast, daily life in less industrialized habitats is characterized not only by disruptions but also by outright failure of the techno-environmental system to provide subsistence materials to millions of people. Culture and technology are artifacts intimately intertwined in the continuous history of human experience. Technology development and technological change is important for the development of human culture. Cultures at the band level of development that subsisted and still subsist in some cases through the practice of foraging, as it is known ethnographically, could not have diffused without the development of technologies such as bows and arrows, kayaks, blowguns, stone and bone tools. Cultures at the level of tropical forest, slash and burn farming villages needed the technology of creating fire. Neolithic mixed dry farming villages required agricultural technologies. The amplification of pristine states of Mesopotamia, China, India, Peru, and Mesoamerica required hydraulic technologies in conjunction with irrigation agriculture. Furthermore, if one accepts the notion of a planetary culture whose characteristic includes intellectual participation on a global scale, then one has to acknowledge the role of electronic technologies. Hence, technology has developed as a byproduct of human coupling with the environment, and the usage of technology has become a means of intervention that transcends or modifies constraints. Technology and practices have been developed to gain a degree of control over rates of subsistence production, especially the production of food and other forms of energy. Technology and related practices have been developed for expanding, limiting, and maintaining population size. And from the modernity onwards, it is clear that advances of technology paralleling developments in mathematics, physics, computer science, neuroscience, cognitive science, biology, and nanoscience are accelerating human intervention to the planetary ecosystems, as well as shaping cultures at all levels. Now, with regards to the third question, why is it important to understand the relationship between culture and technology? I propose the following reasons. On the mundane level of daily life, and for the most part the level in which development of technology has focused on, culture and technology provides us with viable strategies and practices that enables our experience to be aligned with our perceptions of well-being. In effect, this is one of the primary premises of theories of human-technology interaction, which is a good enough alignment of technology, practices, and language, that is, alignment among cultural characteristics, and these contribute to our daily well-being. On a macro level, it follows that such viable, good enough alignment is at the core of the continuing evolution of human cultures and continuation of human forms of life. From the perspective of design, it should be clear from the previous discussion of the mutual specification of culture and technology, as well as morality and culture, that there could not be such a thing as a culture for value-free design. This is something that creators of artifacts whether one calls them architects, artisans, or artists, have implicitly known for millennia. Prehistoric architects certainly had intimate knowledge of the material conditions in their given environment, and this tacit, perhaps even mystic, knowledge have been embodied in the artifacts that they've designed and created. Prior to the contemporary usage of the term designer, makers of material artifacts had intimate knowledge of the local environment and the culture in which their designs were situated. However, since knowledge of culture is tacit knowledge, it is possible that these artisans did not explicitly articulate cultural concerns that might or might not affect any given artifact and the human interaction with it. The artifact either served or did not serve its expected function. Recent empirical studies on the relationships of culture and technology design imply that a similar situation exists in the field of contemporary science. Cultural factors remain in the background and are generally ignored or forgotten. Why should it make any difference whether a designer makes explicit culture's characteristic in his or her design process? I argue that a culturally responsive design process will systematically produce technology solutions that are well aligned with our desire for well-being. It might seem that I'm putting undue weight on the designer's shoulders to take the responsibility of making culturally relevant technology artifacts. This is true from the view that creators of artifacts have much more practical control of the creative process. However, whether they are conscious of it or not, the users of technological solutions also exert much influence on the design process. People can use or refuse to use or even modify a design solution. These events, culturally bound, are an important source of knowledge for designers. Therefore, making explicit the techno-cultural dynamics is indispensable to understanding their effects on design. From the user's perspective, a similar process would be difficult to realize without the designer's intervention, for example, by communicating through documentation or through the user interface. Regardless of the intervention chosen, people in the role of a user do not have to be exposed to the technical complexities of technology solutions to daily life. They intuitively employ tacit knowledge, that is, cultural knowledge, in their interaction through technology. Thus, a process of making explicit the technocultural dynamics embodied in an artifact remains largely undone. While the brunt of understanding the technocultural dynamics is indeed on the designer, individuals cannot escape the philosophical obligation to be aware, particularly in situations involving issues of power. Humans design technology in response to natural constraints on human experience, but they also use technology to establish sociocultural constraints on their own actions as well as in their intra and inter-group actions. Examples of self-imposed constraints with a supportive technology include weight loss diets, waking up with an alarm clock, and contraception. One could argue that technologies have emergent applications either towards overcoming constraints or supporting them. For example, mass media practices and technologies allow us to experience within the comfort of our living room or our office the thrill or agony of a fellow human being situated at another space and time. The same practices and technologies enable intentional manipulation of our thoughts. Contemporary urban planning supports our drive to use spatial relationships according to our desire. It also supports segregation policies or some other policy that is questionable when the perspective, from the perspective of well-being. One can further argue that domination through technology continues in much of our world. Certain technology could come to symbolize social dynamics within groups, as well as across groups. Intra and intergroup struggles for domination of infrastructural resources such as food, shelter, and medical care invariably manifest at the symbolic level of our social cultural system. Likewise, this applies to the contention for domination of superstructural resources such as the internet, contention that one encounters in the so-called digital divide issues. Understanding the relationship between culture and technology makes intelligible certain inequalities that we experience in our everyday life. This understanding is indispensable in deciding for oneself whether a technology is necessary to one's survival and well-being, whether it is being used to maintain inequities in access to strategic resources, or whether it is being used as means of control. Our familiar and perhaps even cherished cultural practices and technologies have a history, and they often involve power struggles and questionable motivations.
The look of love, it's in your eyes. I look my heart can disguise. The look of love is saying so much more than just words could ever say. And while my heart is hurt when it takes my breath away, I can hardly wait to hold you, feel my arms around you. How long I have waited, waited, waited just to love you. Now that I have found you, you got the look. The look of love is on your face. I look that time can't erase.